Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm Sheldon, and this is Behind the Enthusiast. Today is my 6-week update since I broke my hand. And so 6 weeks from the actual day that I broke my hand, from the actual accident. So I had a temporary, I had a splint, so 1 week each. And then I had my full cast for 2 weeks. Then I had another splint for another 2 weeks, which puts me at 6 weeks. And now I have to wear this for 2 weeks. And from the time of putting on the full cast, we are at 4 weeks right now. So 2 more weeks for this. Total of 8 weeks since I broke my hand, and 6 weeks, 2 weeks from now, I will be at 6 weeks in a cast. Now, this is the way the doctor explained it to me. 6 weeks from the initial time of immobilization. So the first 2 weeks, obviously I had a temporary for the first week. That doesn't really count for much. And the splint, which is exactly what I'm wearing right now. So this is my third splint. So the first one, the reason they put that one on was because the swelling was too much. There's too much swelling going on, so they couldn't actually wrap it properly. So the official healing time didn't start until my full cast went on. So just to give you guys some, behind the scenes timeline of how things are progressing right now. So in terms of the bone and everything else, the doctor is pretty happy with where it's at. However, being an enthusiast and living with your dominant hand broken is very, very difficult. And so I wanted to talk to you guys, maybe give you guys some tips about how to make things a little bit easier for yourselves. Now, obviously I haven't shaved my head in a while, haven't been able to do my mustache either. So the first thing on our list is going to be personal hygiene. If you can go to a barber, go to a barber, get them to do it for you. Obviously, if you want to put product in your mustache, if you have a partner, or a sibling or someone who can help you out with that, that would also help. Unfortunately, if you're living on your own, well, you're going to have to figure things out. Now, obviously, I'm still working. I can still, use a computer and, move things. I just can't do the high end, right? So I can do all of the minimal, the basics, basically, that good, let's say 25% of the normal duties, right? So 25%, and then you kind of creep up and into the more physicality of, any type of work, really, so let's say the maximum is 50 pounds. However, you'd be lifting 50 pounds with both your hands. I only have, well, one. It's not this one. I only have one hand that can actually lift that weight. Now, for me to lift 25 pounds with one hand is not impossible. However, because I also sprained my wrist, my capacity is a lot lower now. So basically the only thing that I can do is maintain a straight wrist. It has to be perfectly aligned, just like that. And I can lift upwards, but I can't lift like this. Like I can't pivot and pull a bag up. For example, like a, grocery shopping or doing laundry or whatever. I have to keep my arm down, so my fist would have to be pointing straight toward the ground. That's the only way that I can do it. So getting back onto topic about personal hygiene, obviously you can get someone else to do certain things like trimming your beard, shaving your head, whatever. It's called a barber, or a partner, sibling even, or a family member. However, brushing your teeth, showering, those are a little bit more difficult, a little bit tricky. tricky. The one thing that I would highly recommend if you're going to be brushing your teeth, obviously you can't floss because, if you only have one hand, you can't really floss. You can't use dental floss. Try to get those pre-made picks. They're little plastic units, and they have like a really small portion of dental floss in them. You could use those. A little bit of a waste if you're just going to throw them out after every use. But if you can try to maybe use one of those, maybe just to do your whole mouth and try to do that at least a couple of times a week, that would at least, cut down on the plaque buildup that you're going to be allowing to build up because of, your inability to floss correctly. Go slow when it comes to brushing, or if you have an electric toothbrush, I highly recommend you grab one because that'll make things way easier. You don't have to worry about being like me and having your gums bleeding right away. In terms of showering, you have to probably, anyway, get a very long brush because the only way that I can reach my armpits is with a brush. So obviously I can wash my right armpit with my left hand, but I can't do that for my left. So the brush is, I would say, pretty close to 2 feet long, maybe 1.5 feet long, and I'm able to hold it reversed and actually get into my left armpit. That's the only way that I'm washing right now. Other than that, personal hygiene is manageable, it's doable. So personal hygiene is definitely the number one thing that you would be concerned with, after breaking your dominant hand. And of course, down the list, you're going to have, getting dressed and everything else. And those things, I would say they're pretty easy. However, you want to make things as easy as possible. So if you have a lot of things, in your pocket or your wallet or whatever, try to slim that down, right? Try to, instead of carrying all of your, credit cards or whatever you have with your membership cards, maybe you're going to the gym or whatever, right? If you're going to the gym, whatever you need to go to the gym, just take that only, right? Try to get a smaller wallet so that it's easier for you to, grab things, put it in your other pocket, put your keys in, like for me, for example, I would be putting my keys in my left pocket, my wallet in my left pocket. Basically, I would take my right pocket and just empty it out because it's pretty much, near impossible for me to reach with my left hand into my right pocket. So I found that was a little bit tricky. Doing up my belt is manageable. Putting on pants is a bit of a struggle. Putting on a t-shirt. Here's the thing. Put your deodorant, this is part of personal hygiene, I guess. Put your deodorant on before you put your t-shirt on, and definitely invest in a vest. Something without sleeves. It's really difficult to put anything over your cast, even with a splint. Sometimes the edges, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a blue material, that's the cast. So they use that casting material to wrap your whole hand, or in this case, nothing on the palm of my hand, it's just on the back only because it's a splint, but it still immobilizes your hand. That stuff can be really, really sharp and jagged. This one is a smooth end. However, just depends on how the fibers are formed. Sometimes you can have sharp edges and you can ruin your clothing, so keep that in mind as well. But definitely put your deodorant on before you put your shirt on, and that'll make things really easy. And also, don't wear tight-fitting clothes. So socks, for example, try to get some really warm socks or stretchy socks, because even putting socks on can be really, really tricky. Shoes, try to get something with maybe Velcro on it. I know it's a little bit ridiculous, but you're not going to be able to tie up your shoelaces, so definitely invest in some shoes that you can put on with, relative ease. And let's see, you're not going to be able to put your pants or your sleeves, right? So your jacket, it might be a little bit tricky, so what I actually do, whether you're wearing a hat or not, have something with a hoodie, right? A hood on it. So when you're actually putting your jacket on, you can use your left hand, you put your hood, well, actually you can wedge your elbow, your right elbow, into the inside of the jacket, but you put the hoodie on top of your head, and then it holds your jacket in place while you take your left hand and actually put it in the sleeve, and then you do up your zipper. And also, if you want to cut down on the draft that you might feel, especially if it's in the winter like it is for me right now, you can take your sleeve and stuff it in the pocket of your jacket. That'll help keep you warm. And the other thing that you guys can consider doing is getting an oversized mitten. So whether you maybe have a mom or a grandmother or someone who knits, have them knit you a special mitten to go over your entire hand. That would be a great idea. I unfortunately don't have that right now, but definitely something that I would have loved to have had. So I might still do that though, even though I only have 2 weeks remaining. Well, at least anyway. But yeah, it's a bit of a struggle, you know. Doing laundry, if you have a laundry basket, you're not going to be able to do laundry unless, of course, you buy one of those kind of foldable ones, the ones that have the handle on them. I actually use one of those now. I'm actually borrowing it. So that makes things super easy for me because I can actually take my laundry down the stairs now. It is very narrow for me to do that. So I can't possibly carry my laundry basket with one hand only. Even if it wasn't too heavy, I just can't maneuver through that. I basically have to put the laundry basket above my head in order to do it. So laundry is a little bit tricky, but I found a nice solution for it. And yeah, I mean, there's a few other things that I'm probably forgetting. Obviously, working on a keyboard is a little bit tricky as well. You know, holding the mouse with your left hand. You could try switching the buttons, I guess. You know, maybe change up your computer setup, and you know, a lot of things. Like, I don't think people realize, you know, how much we cater to our dominant hand. Because if there's something that I'm constantly doing, you know, where I need to reach with my, you know, my right hand, and it needs to bend around a certain way, my left hand doesn't do that. My left hand can't bend that way, right? It doesn't work that way. So there are some things that, yeah, you guys are going to find very difficult to accomplish. Oh geez, before I forget, so we got hygiene, we got putting on clothes, eating, right? I would say eating is pretty essential, and also going to the bathroom. So the hygiene stuff, obviously, that was, you know, shower and shaving and everything else. Shaving you could probably do. It should be pretty easy. But obviously I haven't really tried using my left hand. My left hand is not the greatest. It's not very coordinated on its own. So there have been a lot of times where I've made a mess, you know, trying to eat, spilling food. I got yogurt all over myself a couple times, dropped granola. Thankfully I haven't dropped any glasses, like a water glass or anything. I haven't dropped anything like that, but definitely been tricky. And so in terms of eating and going to the washroom, a lot of people warned me about this, and they said it would be rather difficult, might even be a little bit embarrassing. However, all things considered, the washroom is actually pretty easy. I figured it out. If you're a guy, well, you know, you'll figure it out. Trust me, it's not that tricky. In worst case scenario, just sit down. You know, it is what it is. I find that if you can sit down, or if you feel comfortable sitting down, even just, you know, to go number one, it definitely makes things so much easier because you're more relaxed, right? You're stressed out, your hand's broken, the last thing you want to be doing is standing up and making a mess, right? So I highly recommend you sit down and try to adjust to that temporarily. Probably the best way to do it. I know I've done that, and it works generally way better than standing up. Standing up, you almost get this anxiety, you're just gonna like make a mess. So, but in terms of eating, so sliced bread. If you guys buy anything from the grocery store, bagels or croissants or whatever, have someone cut them for you, or you're gonna have a really hard time doing that. Or buy sliced bread and use that. Undoing the bags and putting the bread tags on them, it's a little bit tricky, but it is doable. Containers, provided your hand is not in a sling, you can use your elbow and the meat of your bicep to hold a peanut butter jar or whatever and twist that off. However, the tricky part is putting peanut butter on, because peanut butter is really sticky. So trying to scoop it out from a jar and holding it in place and not making a mess, it is a little bit tricky. You also have to figure out a way how to hold the toast still so you can actually spread the peanut butter on it. So if you guys are doing, let's say, butter is way easier to put on a piece of bread. Jam, depending on the jam, might be a little bit easier as well, but peanut butter is really, really tricky to deal with. So there's a few things that maybe you don't want to do. I found that I am no longer able to prepare my protein shakes properly, so I end up using my fingers a lot. So I will scoop things out with a spoon, and I will put them on a protein shake, but then half the time I have to stick the spoon in my mouth and squeeze off food with my fingers. Takes a little bit longer, a little bit messier than usual. However, that's the only way to do it. And when it comes to washing dishes, I can't do it, unfortunately. And it drives me absolutely nuts, because if I dirty something and I want to reuse it for the following day, like my containers for work, I can't just wash them. I actually have to ask somebody to wash them for me, and it's super, super annoying. You know, there's certain things. This is frustrating enough as it is, but when you're used to being independent and doing things on your own, your laundry and everything else, making your breakfast or lunch even, and now you basically are forced to have someone else do it for you. I can't even drive because I drive manual, but my car's been sitting there. I haven't been able to drive that. And, you know, being an enthusiast, I mean, I'm trying to help you guys out. I hope you guys realize that. I'm trying to give you guys some inside, you know, tips or whatever to my personal struggles, so that you guys are better prepared if you find yourselves in a similar situation. I hope you don't, but, you know, shit happens sometimes. You know, you crash on your bike or your car if you're racing or whatever. You know, that sort of thing does happen, but the more that we're made aware of the struggles that you might come up with, it's a little bit easier to manage down the road, so you're not blindsided by it. So if you guys have any comments or questions for me, please leave them down below. I can obviously elaborate a little bit more for you guys, because this is probably a long-winded video enough as it is, and it's not really talking about motorcycles or cars right now. It's just the frustration of not being able to work on them. So 2 weeks, maybe, I don't know. I gotta work on the bikes, the cars. Editing surprisingly is not too bad. I can still, you know, film obviously and edit, but in terms of creating content outside of this office space, really tricky right now. I am going to try my best to get things lined up for 2025. Right now, we're in December, but I'm probably only going to post another 2 or 3 videos for the month, and then I will definitely be looking forward to 2025 and have new content out for you guys. And hopefully, the physiotherapy that I have to do for my hand isn't too grueling. I know it's really, really painful right now when they take the cast off and they say, hey, we want to check your range of motion. Ooh, it is so bad. so bad. And to make things even worse for me, I have a sciatica problem right now. My hip is absolutely killing me. Thankfully, right now, I'm in a comfortable position. I've got my right foot elevated, and I'm on my tippy toes as well for that foot, just to relieve the pain there. If I have it in a certain position, it's tolerable. So we're good for the time being. And I think that's it for now. So smash that like button so I know that it's working, guys. Be patient with me. I appreciate your support. A lot of you are still subscribing, commenting. I really appreciate all of that engagement. Really, really do. And we're going to be looking forward to, the tail end of December, obviously. Try to squeeze out 2024 and start completely brand new, fresh start 2025. Looking at all these goals, all these builds, whether it's cars, bikes, doesn't matter. I have a very, very long list, and you guys are going to find out exactly what it is in 2025. So please be patient with me. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.